Hey students, so what I want to share for the next couple of minutes is talk about wildlife management and ways that farmers, through their farming methods and practices, as a byproduct of raising food and clothing for us and shelter for humans, we also provide those things for wildlife. What do you see behind me here? The sun's about to set, but this was a very large tract of timber. It had mostly pines on it, but it had some other hardwoods that were growing. And just last year, timber cruisers came through and they clear cut this. Well, by doing that, there was some of the trees that didn't make the cut for the timber cruisers. It was no good to them. There's nothing, it was a waste of their time and money to even cart it off of this property and take it to a sawmill. There was no use. But they made a good use of it. And so we do that as landowners sometimes. We will pile it up into brush piles, as you can see over there. If I can walk closer. There you go. And as a byproduct of doing that, it allows small wild game, things like rabbits, songbirds, quail, foxes, pheasants, things of that nature. It allows them to have a habitat, allows them to have a place for shelter and for homes. And that is something that a lot of times, because of urban development and even rural development, as they clear cut, it's naturally removing what is their natural habitat. So it's a way for farmers to inadvertently give back. So this was the loading area. As far as you can see, this was all trees. There's actually, they left one tree here that they'll use as what they hope will be a reseeding tree. But right over there is another pile. That's where they were using as their loading deck, and they would bring the truckers in here, and this is where they load up the trucks to take to the sawmill. But all of that right there, if we went and started kicking around on it, you would see probably a couple of rabbits and some birds for sure would run out of there. And if you keep on looking, there's several other wood piles. And so as slowly the trees start to regenerate and come back and repopulate this as more of a natural habitat for them, they're using this as kind of a backup. Now, they did have the Forestry Service come in here, and you can see little tiny pines that have been planted. And if I can get in here, you can see they're actually planted in rows, but it's kind of hard to see. You can see maybe some green ones over there, and then they went in a row. And that is so as right here's a good example. You see one there, and one on up. They're teeny tiny right now, but in 15 to 20 years, they'll be able to be harvested once again. You can see from this one, that's a really good one. It's very soft. This was a walking deer. If it was running, the toes would be more spread apart. All right, so now for this portion of the wildlife management video, I want you to look behind me, and I want to talk about something that farmers do that's called planting cover crops. So what you see behind me is actually rye. This is a ryegrass. It's pretty tall now, and this is about as tall as it's going to get, and then it's going to start turning brown and drying out to the point that we'll be able to harvest it. Why did we plant this? We do not plan on harvesting this and selling it to turn into anything like cereal or bread. No, this is actually planted just for the sheer purpose of covering the soil and protecting it from erosion, and actually being able to partially put some more nutrients back in the soil on the off season when it's not being actively, productively used. This rye will be just like put back as it dies back into the soil, and then using no-till methods of farming, the next crop will come in, the planter will go straight through it and plant directly into the crop residue. In doing that though, as you can see, it's about 5 feet tall, and so it's providing a great cover, and as it dries and dies down, the seeds will fall off, and we're not harvesting those seeds. So then that will provide ample food cover or food supply that a lot of these animals will come in. Now when rye is shorter, when it's very small, just maybe a couple inches, 6 to 8 inches tall, that and wheat is fantastic for a food crop for things like deer. I wanted to show you the part of this ryegrass that if we were going to harvest it, that has value. So this right here is still not fully mature, but what my thumb is on will thicken and fill out, and then it will dry out, and that is actually the seed head. You might see something similar in your yard when you haven't cut your grass in a while, and it starts to head out as well. So the rest of this stalk, it can be used. Livestock animals, if they had to, could eat it, but it really doesn't have a whole lot of nutritional value. Let's see if I can see. But look, this one right here is as tall as me. Now this is kind of cool if I can keep it from falling off. Can you see that right there? That is from where it was being pollinated.